Don's Wife, Chapter 5, Part 3. One early morning, Professor Sathe drove to R.D.'s place with two freshly made pans and put one in his mouth, and R.D. responded by doing likewise. Then and there the Pandits were contacted and instructed to finalize an auspicious date for a formal engagement ceremony. Harsh and Kamini's marriage was going to be solemnized in a traditional way in every respect. Everything seemed smooth and rosy. Yet there was something R.D. felt he had to do, driven by his inherent honesty and deep respect for Kamini. He made a call to her with a very special request. She drove and drove through city roads, potholes-ridden by-lanes, stretches of arid land and dusty village gullies, yet the journey did not seem to end. A few times she was tempted to ask the driver who was sent to fetch her as to how far they were from their destination, but she chose not to do so and waited. When they finally reached the place, she was simply overwhelmed by its sheer beauty and disarming simplicity. She found R.D. comfortably perched on the steps of a plants nursery amid a riotous group of children with whom he had apparently just finished a talk session about nurturing and caring for plants. She was touched, witnessing his sense of commitment to the child's center. After some light refreshment consisting of the center's own produce, fruits, yogurt, coconut water, etc., at the small but cute canteen, R.D. took her on a round. Nestling in the lap of hills, with even a small lake-like pond in the middle, the center was not only tranquil and invigorating as a habitat for any human being, it was impressively laid out and equipped with all provisions to give perfect shelter to children broken by time and brought here to heal. The educational content and the daily regimen were not daunting and intimidating, but friendly and motivational. But why was she called here, so far out from the maddening world? The answer came as they took a lazy walk through the narrow jungle path, crisscrossed by stray brutes. It came unasked and made her happy, yet shook her completely. You know, beta, why I called you, and that to here? R.D. suddenly shot. She shook her head and looked at him in anticipation. This was the center Champa started as her first dedication after I married her. A film slid across his eyes and his voice seemed to crack as he continued. It was just a small hut and a tiny patch of green in the beginning. Look how it has grown. She did not say anything, just watched him with fascination. When I first saw you, I saw a dream coming true. He started walking alongside her in slow, small steps while saying, I saw in you the Chand ka tukda that my wife had visualized and wanted for our son, Harsh. I was determined to pursue her dream, for her dream was my dream. Suddenly he stopped and remained standing without saying anything. She did not ask anything too. Not wanting to disturb the world he had slid into transitorily. Then he turned to face her again, and a glow appeared in his eyes as he spoke again. You started meeting us, bonding with us. You filled our house with happiness. Whenever you visited, you became family. Her eyes also grew wet, and a tiny smile spread across her face as she acknowledged the shared feeling. He continued, Now you would be coming to my house as my daughter-in-law. But you have already been a daughter to me, with whom I have not been completely honest. Perhaps because my greed for you to be my daughter-in-law has been more overpowering than my love for you as a daughter. Kamini was intrigued, but she still said nothing. He did not shift his eyes, even as his voice cracked more. But today, I must change this situation. I cannot let my daughter-in-law enter my house with a veil of untruth and deceit hanging in between us. I must speak the truth. She was agape. Pain swam across her eyes. There was pain in his eyes too as he spoke. Bete, have you heard of Raja? The Bhai Raja? She was confused, almost nonplussed. Then she ventured, as if hazarding a guess. You mean the Bhai, like them, the Dons? Yes, that's what I mean. The dreaded underworld Don, Raja. So, she groped innocently. He waited for a couple of seconds and then said grimly, I am Bhai Raja. The earth slipped underneath her feet, and she staggered back slightly before steadying herself. He stood stoically where he was, wanting to hold her, but unable to do so. Her hand went to her mouth to choke her gasp of astonishment, while a million questions appeared in her eyes. The questions remained unasked, though. He nodded. Yes, I am R.D. Sahib too, the owner of Champa Plaza and many more plazas and business empires, a magnate of the overworld. He turned sad, his shoulders stooped, and a smirk appeared on his lips as he continued. Funny, isn't it? I am a man of both the worlds. Yet the world I truly aspired for, I never got. I see that world coming my way with you, and I am frightened. She felt weak and confused. How could the brooks, which were flowing on the pathway, dry up so suddenly? Where had the birds gone? Why are they not chirping? And why did the cuckoo stop cooing? She felt a numbing silence around her, and her eyes strayed away searchingly. She noticed a boulder and lowered herself on it. He watched her intently for a while, and then he turned around and with his shoulders even more stooped, He moved to a fallen trunk of a tree right behind, lying on the other side of the path, with its branches hacked and burnt here and there. Slowly he sat down on it and mumbled, "This world, the middle world, is my only hope, my only redemption. That's why I'm happy to let Harsh flee into this world." She raised her eyes and saw him crying. She marveled at the articulate eloquence of this unlettered man, who spoke so earnestly from the heart, who was in the muck and yet above it. Then she blinked, and drops fell on her hands. Now she realized that the tears were not flooding his eyes but hers. A smile barely crossed her lips, that his voice cracked again, as though a soul beckoned. "Beta, don't deny me your world." And he broke down. She rose up and slowly walked up to him as he cried unashamedly and unbothered about losing his sheen, his color, as a man of terror who was feared by the most fearful and who was despised and loved in equal measure by many men and many women. She stood in front of him, for a moment moved by the helplessness of such a powerful man. And then her hands went to his head and pulled it to her abdomen. He howled like a baby, his head ensconced at the space just below her umbilical spot, which would enjoin her to her offspring. After some moments, as they pulled off, they were both unburdened and tranquil. She also realized that the little brooks of water were still flowing on the pathway. The birds were still chirping. The cuckoo was still cooing. She had made up her mind. He also rose, and they silently walked to the canteen to savor the hot food waiting for them, cooked by the children. Propriety, integrity, love, loyalty, faithfulness, honesty, self-respect, uprightness, words all man-made. None adequate enough to describe the crisscrossing of emotions in a man when he is caught in a whirlpool of contradictory feelings. That's what happened to Kamini as she traveled back home. She knew her parents, but did she know them enough? She wondered. They were both liberals in their beliefs as well as in practice. They respected human dignity and often talked glowingly about man who transcended different layers of society, even those with questionable antecedents who achieved success, name, fame, wealth. Then they loved her so much. There was no question of them wanting to block her love, whom they themselves admired so much, loved so much. However, she still decided against telling anything to her parents of what she had learned. If ignorance is bliss, then silence is also a virtue. The bond between Harsh and Kamini had now strengthened, and the tension between his father and him diluted. Burdens of silence were unloaded by breaking this silence between the two by the two themselves. The engagement ceremony took place very well. Adhering to the wish of the couple, there was no great pomp an ostentatious display of wealth, just a simple exchange of rings and gifts in the presence of a select few. Harsh had done well in his exams and had already secured a place at London's prestigious King's College. His semester was to commence in autumn. There was not much time. Preparations for the wedding began in right earnest, as it had to be solemnized before he left for London. Of course, after also accommodating a short honeymoon. Since Sate's son had married on his own in the USA, it was the first marriage in both the families. Hence the best had to be achieved. A new house had been bought for the new couple to start their life independently. This had to be suitably furnished and decorated. Then the shopping had to be done. A lot of shopping. Both Professor Sathe and Sudha had taken long leaves to ensure that nothing went wrong. Well, nothing. Yet things went wrong. Very wrong. End of Part 3, Chapter 5.